And we're live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning for episode 2 of React Native Mornings. This is awesome. It's been a long time since we did the last one. I think it's been over a month, and I hope everyone that watched it the first time is itching for the second one. So here you go for the second one.
You just didn't get it. You didn't have enough Mazen and Robin in your life.
Exactly.
Or enough Infinite Red in your life. I think we're both. Are we both?
Yeah.
We've got the.
I'm also wearing the Infinite Red shirt under.
Oh, there we go. You've got.
I got really cold. So I put it back on.
Double swag.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you'll notice over my shoulder, there's a plant. I think last time we mentioned that you're slowly going to see me build the office together with you.
We can't even see it.
I'm working on its placement, Robin. It's going to be there for now. So it's a cool plant.
Well,
maybe I don't want you to see the bottom part because I haven't been watering it for a couple of weeks now.
Oh, it's a real plant?
It is.
That's brave.
It is.
This guy right here, fake. So fake.
Vibrant. It looks good to me.
I cannot keep plants alive to save my life.
Me too.
Every woman in my family is like a master gardener, loves plants. Like, I don't know where that gene went when they created me, but nope, can't keep plants alive. So, you really can't tell the difference on camera. So,
well, if you never said it, I don't think anyone would have ever known any different, right?
Now the whole world knows, but
yeah, exactly.
I don't. You know what? I'm okay with that.
And my wife's gonna hate me for saying this, but she always brings plants home and she forgets to water them, so they automatically become my responsibility. And I literally go around my water bottle like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Now it's my turn, and then that's it. So I have a plant over there that she actually got really mad that is not making it. So I'm slowly trying to bring it back to life.
So she got mad that she's not watering it, and that you're not watering
I'm not watering it,
even though it's her plant.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to have a cacti on my desk. I don't know where it is. I miss it. It was like a little small cactus that obviously requires no water, which is perfect.
Still managed to kill cactuses. I have killed a succulent.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible.
I think I give off just negative plant energy.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
I know the plants think so.
Yeah. So I think we're coming off of Memorial Day. You watch any cool sports?
It depends on your definition of cool sports. I watched my favorite sport, which is, of course, if you've listened to React Native Radio at all, you know that I love Formula One racing. And kind of by proxy, I'll watch the Indy 500. So that was this weekend. So it was the Monaco Grand Prix for F1 in the morning. That was at like 6 a.m. I got up to watch that. And my favorite driver won. So I'm very happy about that. And then watched the Indy 500 later on. And my favorite driver did not win that. So,
Was that Dale Earnhardt Jr., right? That's him?
My favorite driver?
Is he's Indy 500, right?
No, I think he's NASCAR.
Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Yeah. After Formula One, I even know more about what happened in Formula 2 than Indy 500 and NASCAR.
Oh, the Formula 2 race was quite spectacular. There was a huge pileup of cars. Nobody got hurt. Very low speed pileup. But huge crash. There was I don't know, 6, 7, 8 cars, something like that were taken out of the race.
Well, people that don't follow Formula One, Monaco is probably the slowest track.
It is.
It's the shortest and slowest because it's
if
in the
you
middle
don't know
downtown.
About Monaco, so Monaco is a teeny tiny country, basically one city, in between France and Italy. Super famous race, very historic race, but it's goes through the streets of this very hilly city. So we're talking really narrow, windy roads, and you've got these cars trying to go over 200 miles an hour through those streets, and it's very hard for them to overtake. So It's often called like a parade.
Yeah.
Because they kind of just stay in the same order they started in.
And yeah, exactly. It's like one of those races where if you, after the sprint, so the practice to get your positions, if you finish in first, which I think, I forget the driver's name, but he like broke a track record or something.
That was Lando
Lando.
Norris, my favorite driver.
Yeah. And then he ended up
set
winning
a
because
new
he's in
track
first.
record during qualifying, getting his lap in under 1 minute and 10 seconds.
There you go.
And then he won the race because he started at the front. Anyway,
yeah.
Our poor listeners are like, I don't care.
Should we talk baseball now?
No.
That's all I watch.
I tab out if you start talking about baseball. Yeah. Our producer, Justin, who's listening to this, but you can't see or hear him, but we can, is like, he's a LA Dodgers fan. He's like, yes, please talk about baseball.
Well, if it means anything, I was watching ACC baseball all the weekend for the championship. Carolina versus Clemson was in the finals.
Oh.
Oddly enough, I stopped watching because Carolina was up like 14-2 at one point. So yeah, I hope they ended up winning. I don't know, but I'm sure they won. That's fine. We'll go with that. Yeah. So
anyway,
let's get into today's topic. Again, it's a fun one because it's really hard to show, and we're going to do our best to show it on here. But it's a topic that we all need to kind of keep in mind, and it's building performant apps.
Okay, first of all, what do we mean when we say performance? That's a very generic word. It has a lot of different meanings. What do we mean when we say?
We did an R&R episode on it, I believe. So that's something that, if we did, I'll kind of link it in the show notes after the fact. But I guess for me, when I'm building a performant app, I'm thinking, I don't want to mess with the user's experience. I don't want to, degrade the user's experience. I have used apps in the past where when I click a button, nothing happens, and I'm like just tapping all over the screen, and then all of a sudden, the screen changes. It takes me to the next screen, and then a bunch of different actions trigger. Right? That's poor. That's poor performance app there. Usually don't end up using it. I'll end up probably even just opening up my browser on my device and going to their website instead, because that probably works 10 times better, right? So that's a good example of, locking up probably the whatever UI or JS thread if it's a React Native app. So that's a poor experience. So I guess for me, it's like, how do we avoid those pitfalls and make sure that our user has a smooth interaction with the app? Now, again, we're going to show some stuff on here that you'd be like, well, user's not going to notice that, right? Like, it's fine. Like, user's not going to notice that. So like, does that even matter? And I think that comes down to you and the app that you're using. We talk a lot about, I personally talk a lot about the Mercari app that we built. And I do remember we were very conscious about, I mentioned accessibility, but also very conscious about performance within the app. And I know we had used different APIs, JavaScript APIs like the INTL API for currency and all that kind of stuff. And I know that we had run into issues with that. You'd be like, well, that's the common API to use. Like, why are you running into any issues with it? Well, again, it's, were we using it right? Were we using it and abusing it, for lack of a better phrase, while trying to get the best out of it? So we'll kind of go through a bunch of stuff, but we'll also show you more tools that we use on a daily basis to kind of give that idea and that feel. And hopefully, we'll see here, we'll show our numbers beforehand, and then after we make a couple tweaks, see where we end up after that.
Yeah, we're not, unfortunately, like you said, we're not going to be able to show you the slowest app that there could be, just because usually you don't get into really visible performance problems until your app gets quite complex. And we can't show you any of our client apps, which are all pretty performant anyway, because
we built
kind of our job. But we couldn't build a complex enough app to have really, really visible performance problems. But so the examples are going to be a little bit contrived, but hopefully it'll give you a good idea for how to use the tools, and how to kind of spot some potential issues.
Well, that's it, right? It's more about spotting the issues and like how to find the issues, because we can't. Okay, yes, we're going to show some examples and you're going to be like, stop, I would never do that, right? That's fine. We get that. But we're showing you that starting point where if you happen to take over an app that had a couple issues, how do you find where the issues are to kind of get you there quicker, rather than just being like, all right, we're just going to rip it up and start all over kind of thing and just go from there, right? So that's the objective here. So I guess let's get into it. One of the first things I will preface is we are going to use Ignite. So that's, can't beat that. And Ignite already has some good stuff in there for you. There we go. Okay. So what we have here on the left is a simple Ignited app. And we're going to tap to log in. If you're familiar with Ignite, this kind of looks very familiar. We're going to actually just focus right now on the podcast tab. You'll notice that if you've used Ignite before, we had a small selection of podcasts that showed up on the screen. But what we've done is we've gone in and updated the API to use the latest API.
We were just hitting the RSS feed and it was giving like 5 episodes, like 10 episodes, a really small number. So I just changed it so that it actually hits the API of our podcast provider. So it returns all of the episodes paginated. So there's only like 100 in the first request. But
this first request is going
much more data.
And if you're not familiar with this tool, this is Reactotron. This is kind of like our tool that we've built. And let's see, shrink this.
Or don't shrink it. I guess.
Right?
No shrinking for you.
But look, this is it shrunk and then not shrunk. But
because it shows the value.
Yeah.
Which is just long. So I usually just click the filter.
This one?
And
search
that one, yeah.
Shows
and
you
then
how much
just
I use
undo everything except for API and maybe logs, depending on what you want. But yeah.
Let's start with those. Yeah. So here we go. Here's our API. And you'll notice that our response gave us 100 collections. So only 100 right now. We'll figure out if that's what we want or not. We've also changed a bunch of things that we'll kind of go through that will hopefully help us get our message across in here. So let's see where to begin. Let's talk about what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset our store. So I'm going to do this every single time I refresh the app. And all I want to do is basically simulate brand new coming into the app with
nothing
all
is cached.
Nothing is cached.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually shake my device. Or the command here is Command Control Z for my simulator. And the first one is Show Performance Monitor. This is one that I feel like we keep up more often than usual. I usually end up closing it if it's getting in the way of like my clicks and stuff, but it's usually open most of the time. For this recording, we're just going to kind of focus on the last two, the UI and the JS. So that's basically our UI thread, JavaScript thread. What's the performance on that? And the magic number is 60. So
all right. So we're looking for it to mostly stay at 60 and not go too far below 60.
Yeah.
Is there a preference between the UI and the JS thread? If we're going to keep one of those at 60 and the other one goes down a bit, is there one that's better than the other?
I believe it's the JS thread.
It's better to have the JS thread go down than the UI thread.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Now you can lock up your JavaScript thread, which will in turn, lock up the app, right? So yes, in theory, I believe just try and keep all of them high. And I mean, here's a good example. And hopefully, this is being recorded in a way that you should see these numbers as they're happening in real time. So if I'm going to click login, you'll notice JavaScript dropped 3. Let's call it 3 numbers. We'll keep that now.
Frames.
Frames. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to click it again and kind of go into the app. Now we're going to go into an app that has more pictures, more text, a tab bar at the bottom. So you'll notice 31, 59. So UI didn't necessarily change. But as a user, I didn't necessarily notice anything. So I'm going to do this again. And as soon as I log in, I'm going to start scrolling. And
your performance monitor.
Yeah, this is something I noticed. So I'm going to do that again. You have to almost like threaten to hide it.
Yeah, you just have to open the dev menu and it pops back up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, sorry. I was supposed to be here.
It's like forgets that it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it forgot itself. Okay, so I'm going to click. You're going to see the numbers drop, but I'm going to try and scroll immediately. Okay, so.
Oh. Okay. So yeah, if you started scrolling and it took a while for things to get back up to 60 on the UI thread. Oh, 52. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, the UI thread did not lock up, so I'm able to interact with the UI.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Okay, I'm going to have to remember. You're going to have to remind me to always bring this up. So I'm going to click. It's going to come, and then I'm going to start scrolling. No issues there, right? So despite the JS thread kind of dropping, the UI was barely dropping.
Right.
Everything.
And this isn't something you would see with your naked eye, probably.
Correct.
Or notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's something kind of what we were trying to say. It's like, is your user noticing this? Is this something you need to fix along the way? Again, it all depends on.
But it's like, it's about it, because this app is so simple. Mm-hmm. It can be easy to say like, oh, well, the user would never notice that, so it doesn't matter. Exactly. But it's about building a habit, and you should be like keeping your frame rates as high as possible every time you add a new feature, because 2 frames here, 2 frames there isn't a big deal at the time, but will add up as you build out your app. Precisely. So it's really critical for this to be part of your like daily dev habit, even if it doesn't seem like it's going to impact the user in the short term.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And, let's actually do one more thing. Let's reset. Okay, I'm going to bring this back. And what I'm going to do is, so if y'all are not familiar, these are the React Native Dev tools. This is something that was included in React Native 77. And I find myself reaching out for this pretty often. It's pretty good. If you haven't used it,
you might know it as the new React Native debugger.
Yes, the new one. Yeah.
Which they have not yet. They've named officially React Native DevTools.
Mm-hmm. Can you open it from here? Open DevTools. I
think DevTools opens it, yeah.
Let's try. Doing it live.
Yeah,
there we go. Same thing. So that, or you just press J in your Metro server. And if you have iOS and Android open, which I do, we'll get to Android in a little bit. It will ask you which one. You'll see what's connected. So console, sources, memory. I believe this is still early, but this is kind of something to also keep in mind. That's not part of what we're going to be talking about. We're basically going to be focusing on the profiler, and more specifically the flame graph within here. This is one that is very helpful. So
this used to be included in Flipper, which has been sunsetted now, but they've incorporated the flame graph tool in React Native DevTools, so you can still have that.
Yeah. So how do you do this? Once your app is set up, you click record, and you kind of go into interact with your app as you want. And that's all. Let's just do this for now. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to stop. Okay. So you'll notice that all of a sudden I got here these, 60 frames that it caught for us. What this looks like to me right here, this tail end was the part where I was scrolling. So nothing heavy happening here. And, this is basically because we've rendered everything on this page.
Things have already rendered and they're not re-rendering. They're not changing anymore. And so
nothing's happening.
Yeah. But those colorful bars at the beginning, that's where you're rendering, you're loading data, like that. That's where everything's happening. And so that's where you want to try and reduce what you can. Mm-hmm.
And usually what we usually tell is just kind of the green and the blue, you can kind of ignore because they're low. Nothing's really happening. But the orange is where it's like, all right, something heavy happened here. So this is probably something you want to take a look at. So in this case, demo showroom screen.
Specifically,
the drawer.
The drawer. And then within the drawer.
If I click drawer, this is what we're talking about here.
Which has animations. It has
gesture
a lot of
handlers, because
data.
you can swipe away. And then within it, you can kind of see also what's creating all that weight within it to kind of fix it. Now, this is a package, right? So I doubt let's even just open it. So demo, showroom screen. And then if I look in here for drawer, so React Native drawer layout, right? So essentially the goal here is now, how do we fix this, right? This is a third-party package. You can dig into it and see what's happening, or even you can dig into your implementation or how you're using it, making sure you're following the docs correctly, making sure as you go through all this, is there stuff that could be optimized even better within here, right? So, and just looking at this flame graph, usually what you'll tend to see is, let's just take an example. Let's say this is orange. You'll tend to see a view and then like a text field, let's just say, to be darker, a darker color, kind of leaning towards the orange. And then you'll know like, okay, this is where something has an issue of, time to clean it up. Now, what's also interesting is, since kind of React Native has gotten so far, and again, what version of React Native is this Ignite packet? Is this on? React Native 76. All right. And it's using React 18.3. I mean, React Native and React have come such a long way that it's going to be really hard to see some of this stuff, unless you're doing some crazy complex stuff on the UI thread or the JavaScript thread that you shouldn't be doing, animations and whatnot. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. What I'm also going to do now is I'm actually going to clear this. And if you remember previously when we went into the podcast screen, we saw a dip. And again, this is because it's going to be fresh and it's going to pull in 100 and render all 100. Okay. See, that dropped down to 10 on our JavaScript thread. And now we're back in. So I'm going to stop. Okay. Last time we only had one. Now we have one. We have
a bunch of
2,
yellows.
3, 4. Yeah, there's a lot. So, I'd probably say this seems to be our worst one. So that's kind of something to kind of look at and see what it is. And there's a lot of stuff happening here. So we'll click into it. Okay.
So that's our card.
And I believe that's in our episode. Nope, in here.
Episode, the list screen, yep.
Oops, if I know how to spell. Episode card. So our episode card's heavy. And why is that? You'll notice we have a lot of animations happening in here, a bunch of callbacks. This is some accessibility stuff. We're putting them in memo. We're memoizing them. Here, I'm just going to shrink the code. Sure, because it's big on your end. We're doing a lot of different stuff. We're displaying text that was formatted from our state.
It's a MobX observer.
MobX observer, is it? Let's go back up here. It's an observer, right? So that's probably also something that's adding to a layer of complexity to it. So this is probably something that we need to kind of fix. Let's see what these other ones are. Okay. This is the demo list screen, right? That's the problem. And that kind of tracks, right? Because further down the tree, our episode, clicking on it, this is episode card, episode card. So every episode card seems to be pretty heavy. Right. So this is a new frame. You'll see episode card took 4.3 of 9.3 milliseconds to load. That's a big chunk of it, right? You'll notice
and obviously we're talking like you said, we're talking milliseconds here. So it's not objectively a long time, but we want to make sure we're maximizing our incremental optimization.
Yep. And you'll see here, touchable opacity seemed to throw an error. It was in the orange for us, and that's basically the click of our card, right? It's going to take me to Simplecast now. And then I'm going to assume also our favorite button probably also had something to do with that. So how do we optimize all that? How can we clean all that up? So what is FlashList? FlashList is a tool built by BAM, Alexandre Moreau, who we had on the podcast previously.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tool that they built for basically, if you think of Flashlight on web for like
Lighthouse.
Google built.
Lighthouse. Yeah.
Lighthouse is so confusing. Lighthouse for web, Flashlight for mobile. Two different tools that were built to kind of accomplish the same goal within there. So let's run a Flashlight test on the Android device. It's just easier to I think they don't support iOS right now.
They don't support iOS.
Yeah.
I think it's in the works.
There's a pull request
for
open.
now. It's only Android, which is, I mean, for me is fine. I think 9 times out of 10, if you can get your Android device to be performant, you won't have any problems on iOS.
She said it live.
I said
Android
live.
is the problem, child.
You can quote me. Android is the problem. Especially like the lower end Android devices tend to be a lot slower than the most iPhones. Mm-hmm. But I think they're working on iOS support. It's coming.
Totally. Yeah. All right. So Flashlight gives us the ability to run our end-to-end tests with something like Maestro. You can essentially wire up Flashlight to your GitHub Actions or something within that to run specific tests for you using the command Flashlight test, kind of similar like you see here. Autocomplete's happening for me. You give it bundle ID test command, and it'll run that command for you. What we're going to do like for manual testing is we're going to actually run the Flashlight measure command. What that does is it's going to give me a browser, which I'm going to bring over. Everyone makes fun of my multiple screens. So, including Robin.
Never. So, I would never make fun of you for anything, Mike.
Thank you. So, we're going to get the app up and running. Let's start over here. And let's just refresh. All right. There we go. I'm going to auto detect. It picked it up, and you can tell the Android logo. Start measuring. So we have our app here.
Looking good so far.
Yeah.
Oh. That's good.
We're going to scroll a little bit. Oh, no.
Click favorite buttons and
going to unfavorite the Flashlight episode. Flash it again. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to swipe to refresh.
Ooh, nice one.
Do this.
Filter. Okay.
Let's unfavorite within here. Sad. Come back.
Face.
Go even to other pages. And if you remember this page, scroll down.
There's a lot of stuff on it.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop measuring. There's a lot of stuff here, right? So
it gives you, what is it, an average score?
I believe.
I think the 70 is an average.
This is the average over everything that I did so far. Yes.
We saw it dip down to like the 50s and stuff at points, but it.
Yeah. And you can even see this here. At one point, our FPS was at 24 frames per second.
Wow.
That's not good, right? This is one where you want to keep it up at this magic 60, right? CPU usage. This is inverted, right? This is bad up here. You want it low CPU usage. Similar to JavaScript thread percentage. You can see here, this is probably when we first got into the podcast screen. We were almost at 100%, 99. We hit 100% here. We had a dip. This is probably when we were clicking. So there's a lot of stuff happening here. RAM usage kind of went up a little bit. I'd say this is kind of steady. So
overall,
not good.
70. Right? We can do better than that.
Is 70 a pass or a fail these days?
I don't know.
I think it's like a C, right?
My kids in kindergarten, they don't really fail them at this age.
Not yet. Well, we can measure again. And this is another cool thing about it. You know, if you're doing end-to-end tests specifically, you get to do it multiple times. So you get to see them side by side. How are they interacting?
Can you try it after clearing the data?
I could, yeah. Let's do that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop measuring. Okay, keeping in mind number 2 is a little bit off. So let's reset right? Would this be
No,
it?
Reactotron.
Reactotron. Well, I need to.
Oh, you need to do your yarn ADB.
Yes, I do. Of course. Thank you.
And then reload. And it should show up after you reload.
Reload.
Here it
Capture.
is. I
Thank
still
you.
don't totally, if I'm being honest, don't totally know why that ADB command is necessary. But it's always been a thing. It's in the reactive docs. It's just like,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do this.
Yeah. So actually, while we're here, I actually started swiping. You have to scroll. Now we're in the web. It does it side by side, so you get to see
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So let's start measuring again. We're gonna log in. Again, we know we're not comparing apples to apples here, but it's good to kind of see what's happening. Let's probably scroll.
And then hit that
Click on
podcast screen where it loads. Ooh. Loads all of our things for the first time. All 100 of them.
Favorite couple. Stop.
All right.
Stop measure. Okay. Let's kind of bring this like this now.
Not terrible. Not that much worse, actually.
No, but I feel like we could do better, right? So like even just looking at it, let's, okay, looking at it here, you can see this cool thing here. You can tell frame rates. We had a couple drops, right? So not as bad. Let's just look at 1 and 2, right? You'll notice we did have a big dip. So this is this dip right here is most likely when we got into our screen. That checks out. Total CPU usage, again, we're just as high as the green one too. So not good either. JavaScript thread, same thing. We're hitting 100 multiple times. We need to fix that. And then you'll notice RAM usage is higher. This one I feel like we could take with a grain of salt, right? Because the app is still running in the background, and this is not necessarily a very performant device that I have. So, okay, we have our baseline here, right? So let's kind of go through a couple of things that we identified that we might want to fix or improve on, and we've identified 3 things within our. Let's start here within our list. So this React Native Radios list, we are using FlatList, plain FlatList. What we're going to do is we're actually going to use FlashList. I, for one, and I think, Robin, we've had this discussion in Infinite Red quite a bit, where most people at Infinite Red use and reach for FlatList first because it seems to work. Some scenarios, you have to reach in for FlashList. There's actually an article, which I'll include in the show notes, where Discord built their own performant list, and they call it Faster List, I think. Soon you're going to have Fastest List. I'm the Fastest List. I'm faster than you list. Who knows?
We also have Legend List, which
Legend List. We should have compared Legend List.
Meister on the podcast.
Yeah.
Recently talking about that.
So we're just going to simplify this, and we're actually going to use our list view. Again, you're using Ignite, so you get all these like stuff for free. We have our list view, and I'll go into list view,
which is using FlashList most of the time.
Yeah, I'm show it here. Reason we have this is we want to use FlashList every single time, but when you're in the RTL context, you want to use FlatList because there was a bug with FlashList, which they fixed in the new architecture. Spoiler alert. So this component probably goes away soon.
Nice.
So we fixed that, or we think we did. We're gonna find out once we go through our profiler. Secondly, you'll notice when we're getting our date published, so date up here, we're using just the plain INTL date time format, which is fine, right? You need to be able to use it. I found this to be less performant in most scenarios. So we'll need to kind of reach for format date. So what is format date? Let me autocomplete here and show you all. Format date is basically taking the date FNS library and leveraging
the date formatting library that we like to use.
Yeah, I've used it on many projects. Haven't seen any issues within it. All is fine. Do you
know why the INTL library is less performant?
So yeah, I did some research on that. My understanding, and I could be corrected on this, but my understanding is, if you remember how it looked, let's backtrack a little bit. New. You are creating a new instance of the INTL. You're creating a new instance of INTL every single time. So this is kind of mapping over 100 items. It's creating it again 100 times. So it's recreating it. If there is a way to create it on, if you know you want to use it, right? Which I think we're doing it on our current app that I'm working on. You can create it once and then leverage it later on within the app. That's probably the wisest way to handle that within there. So we're going to do format date. That's going to come from that. And I believe off the bat, I missed something here. I need to estimate it, and I'm going to go with 177. Again, if you know FlashList, it will tell you in your console. I think I'm in the wrong spot. It'll tell you your list. Make sure to update and include this value. It'll give you the sample value that you should put in there. So we have that in there. So we've gone ahead and done all those updates. Do we see any performance improvements? Let's find out. Let's reset and let's refresh. Oops. Okay. One thing I like about it when you're using an Android device is you get to like shake the device.
You actually shake it.
Yeah, you do. I do, just for fun.
I have definitely whacked it on the desk before.
Oh yeah, many times. Many times. Not as fun as iOS. This is, right? You'll see here, you'll see 59.9. This might actually even be tiny. Can I make it bigger?
Yes. 59. Yeah, that will be very tiny for anyone watching this on a normal size monitor.
Yeah. So we could also do it on iOS too, because we kind of have that for reference. So I'm going to log in. All is good. Click here. You remember we hit low numbers, right? I didn't see anything too low when we got on this page. Remember the first time we did it? I believe we hit like 20 or 30. Not bad. Come in here. I saw 40. I didn't see anything below 40 on there, which is an improvement, right? So we've fixed it in a way, right?
We'll see. Let's do a flashlight test.
Let's do a flashlight test. Do you want to see Android real quick? I kind of do.
iOS, you mean?
iOS, geez. All right. We're going to come into podcast. 52. We hit 29. Okay. So briefly, some stuff to fix there for sure. Yeah. Agreed. All right. Now let's come back to Flashlight. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start recording. Oh, did I click something? I did. All right. We're going to reset our store. Okay.
Reload.
We're going to come in. We're going to start measuring. Let's go. Nice. 100. Can we keep it there? I'll take 99.
Pretty good so far.
Pretty good, right? Look at that. Just a couple changes. Stop measuring.
Amazing.
Okay. 87, right? And if
just switching to FlashList
did this,
got us in the green, almost to 90.
And if we look here to compare, right, you'll notice our frame just had that one dip early on. And I believe, if we're being honest with ourselves, this dip was on the component screen. So what would be ideal, right, is you have the component screen mounted and all done. Then you start measuring, because we're only working on the podcast screen right now. We're not working anywhere else, right? So this dip is from the components tab, so I'd say kind of like around here. Improvement. We'll look at our CPU usage. Improvement, right? We're still below the green. If you'll notice, we're below the green there. CPU thread usage. We hover over it. Again, less, right? It seems lower. And RAM, again, RAM is accumulating over time. We need to kind of close the app to kill the RAM and start over. Now, again, these timelines aren't specific because we ran them differently, different speeds. So run an end-to-end test with Maestro to kind of give you all that, to give you a better tool. Flashlight also has the ability to upload an APK that kind of gives you more details also. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of different ways to use this, which I think is great. Now, okay, I think we're kind of getting close to running out of time. We're not going to do pagination. Again, pagination is an easier way to improve all this.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more tool I kind of wanted to show real quick. Do we have time for this, Robin?
Yeah.
We do. Thank you.
We do. This is really cool.
This one is actually hidden, and I did not know this existed.
And it's new. I think it's pretty new.
I believe so. Yes. Yes. All right, let me bring Reactotron back up for my iOS. I'm going to use iOS because I'm more comfortable there, but I kind of want to show this. So once you have your new React Native debugger open, you'll notice there's the gear or the cog here under profile. When you click it, there's this checkbox, highlight updates when components render. If you're coming from the web, this is compatible or equivalent to React Scan. So what happens here is you will see anything that's re-rendering wrapped in a blue outline and then kind of get darker, kind of like in that orange or yellow as it's re-rendering many times to kind of warn you against that. So let's turn it on. I'm going to log in. Okay, we have a couple of things causing re-renders. You see how long it took. Okay, a bunch of things causing re-renders. Okay, we saw that. Now let's go into a podcast screen. Re-render, re-render. There we go. We kind of got to see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this again, but I'm going to actually take us back to FlatList. Okay. And I'm going to take us back to INTL formatter. Okay. Are we still on? Yes. So we should have done this beforehand. I should have showed it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But this is we saw the after. Now let's show you the before. See how it's turning orange? A lot of re-render is happening.
Interesting. So, and that's because of the FlashList?
I believe, yes. FlashList is doing something, and then potentially, right, this library might be doing things. Let's test that out. Okay, we're back in FlashList. Send our command. Restart. All right. Okay, let's click it.
Less re-renders.
Less re-renders. Yeah. And then again, I'm going to assume, because that's what we do here. Kidding.
I think the INTL is probably more about usage of the
exactly.
UI thread and dropping frames.
So that was significantly faster, significantly better.
And there's so many things that can contribute to this. I mean, things like not memoizing your render item function, which I think we're actually not doing. I'd be curious to see if that would
our render function
as well. The render item in your
render item is just
right. It's just an anonymous function inline. You can get some gains just by moving that into a use callback, especially if it's a pretty heavy heavy component. You can make sure that you're not you don't have any problematic use effects or things that are causing state changes that are causing re-renders. Things that I've seen clients do a lot is running utility functions inside the component so that they run on every render instead of doing them as hooks or instead of memoizing them. A lot of things that could be happening, but these are the tools that will hopefully help you figure out where things are happening, and then once you're zeroed in on where it's happening, it can be a lot easier to see what it might be.
I love that you mentioned use effect, use callback, use memo. There's a whole thing about, you have to use them. They're great, but they're going to give you side effects that, because you have to think about it. Is it worth importing these extra utility functions to help? Or is it sometimes just fine to use the anonymous function. That's something you need to test out, see the size of your app. But you're right, like within that render item, that's a perfect example of using that to help you out. And, one thing too is with React compiler officially out, if you're using the latest version of React Native 80, I believe, right? And Expo 53, or is it 79? No, sorry.
80 is not out yet, although it's pretty soon.
Yeah. So React Native 79 and Expo 53, you get access to React compiler. If you're not familiar, React compiler essentially memoizes your code for you and kind of helps you kind of get those gains. So essentially you use it less within there. I'm going to include a link that Expo put in about best practices for reducing lag, I believe is the name of the article. I'll include it in the show notes. They talk about React compiler, the benefits of React 19. They actually show the React scan thing that I showed, and they'll show you like how to lock up the JS thread so you can kind of see it happen in real time and all that. So these are some tools that we kind of gave, and hopefully they helped everyone within here.
Yeah.
So I think that's all the time we have. One thing I will mention is the next episode will be much later in the year. I'm going on paternity leave, so we're going to take a little bit of a break there. Making the announcement here officially. I think I did it on the podcast too.
Yay.
Maybe. But when I come back, I'm going to have a live episode. So please, be on the lookout for that. It'll be me and a bunch of guys from the Maestro team. So we're going to talk about testing, end-to-end testing.
Right.
And it'll be fun.
We didn't get to dive into Maestro too much this time, so that'll be really fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And maybe you could bring FlashList back for that too and show how to use it.
That's not a bad idea.
Test.
Yeah, maybe compile all of that together and kind of see how it's going. Well,
yeah. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you watching, listening, supporting.
In all the ways. And if you have an idea for an episode, let us know. We'll be more than happy. Again, this is different, right? We're coding this time around, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you all.
Cheers.
Cheers.